Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This time I'm doing a little something different. I thought I would show everyone how I store my comics and all the things surrounding that, like bags, boxes, boards, and I'll talk about a little how I grade them too. Very briefly. It's not going to be a grading how I grade video. But anyway, let's get started. I think one of the most important things right now, obviously, is how you store your comics and how do you store your comics? You put them in bags, right? So what bags do I use? Number one, when it comes to new books I get, and I don't get too many new books. When I say new books, I mean like books that come out every week. I get Batman and Detective Comics. That's it. Occasionally I'll see a nice book, a nice cover or whatever it is. Doesn't matter, but books like that for right now, they go in a regular poly bag and then they get stored in regular BCW long boxes. So it's nothing that big, so I don't need to show that. Everyone knows what that is. Now, when it comes to anything of value, and this could be new books too, books that came out a few years ago, but mainly books that are Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Golden Age, those that are not slabbed, like I have up here on the wall, I don't think you can see it. Those books get special attention, and they get special bags. They get Mylar bags, and I think, again, that's something that a lot of us know, okay? But how do I do it? What Mylar bags do I use? There are several Mylar bags out there. There's 2mm Mylar bags, there are 4mm Mylar bags. I don't use the 4mm ones because they're very, very sturdy, and it's very difficult to get those in the boxes that I store my comics in. But they are very sturdy. So for those of you that have wide enough space to store your books, you store your books maybe in Golden Age boxes, that's a good route to go. But anyway, I go with E. Gerber. And the E. Gerber makes 4mm Mylar bags too for all ages. But I go with E. Gerber, MyLites, MyLites 2, excuse me. This is the brand I use, okay? So whenever I get a book, like I was saying a few moments ago, whether it's Bronze Age, modern books, and that I feel that they belong in a MyLite, like I said, I use 2mm MyLite. Every book, obviously not Golden Age, but every book, silver, bronze, modern, whatever it is, get a silver Mylar bag, okay? Now, I don't use the archival bags, you know, the ones where you can't turn the flap over and put the tape on. I don't like those. I mean, I know some people swear by them. I know some people really like them. You'll go to dealers at conventions and they'll have their books in that. That's fine. I'm not saying anything negative about it, but it's just not what I do. This video is about what I do, and that is something that I don't do. I don't like them at all. So again, those are the bags I use. But I use silver for all ages, except for golden, obviously, right? I don't try to fit a golden book into a silver bag. Doesn't matter. Bronze Age, modern, whatever, they all get into a silver bag, okay? And again, this is what I use. Now, I'm not being paid by E. Gerber or anybody for that matter, BCW, to talk about their products. It's just the product that I use. Now, a lot of this is just common knowledge, I think. This is nothing like, oh my God, I didn't know you'd do that. But here, the reason why I have this one out in particular is, this one is the E. Gerber MyLites 2 50 silver and golden age comic book size. Now, what does that mean? Well, I think it's mainly Atom Age bags. You see, I buy a lot of late golden age books, like EC books, okay? So a lot of those books obviously are not going to fit into a silver Mylar, right? But a regular golden age bag is, for me, just too big for a late golden age book. It's just too big. Okay, there's just too much room in it. Again, some people might like that. There's probably some logic behind that, why there should be enough room in there. That's fine. But for me, it doesn't work for me. And the way I store them, I think I store them safely as well. But anyway, I use these. Silver and Golden Age comic book size for the EC books that I collect, late Golden Age books, and even some of those early Silver Age DC books. Now, if you notice, a lot of those early Silver Age DC books, not the Marvel books, the DC books, like early showcase books, right up until I think the early to mid 60s. I think pretty much the early 60s, a lot of them, not all of them, of course. The DC books were a little bit bigger than your standard Silver Age book. Not as big as, let's say, right here, here's an example I have. Not as big as the EC book, like this one I got right here, Crime 17. Maybe not as big as this, but still big enough to where a regular Silver Age bag won't do. It's a little too tight, and that I don't like, because you never know, you might hit the book somewhere. You want a little bit of protection, right? You don't want the book all the way to the end of the bag. So for those and the ECs, I use this. These work beautifully. They work beautifully. Plenty of room, and they fit that size adequately for me. So what boards do I use? Well, I mean, it's not that I necessarily use BCW for everything. I mostly have BCW stuff. Again, BCW is not paying me to show you their products or anything. But for silver, and I'm planning to switch out, but for right now, up until this point, I've been using silver boards. Just regular silver boards, and usually inside the bag, I'll put about 3 silver boards, just to make sure that it's nice and sturdy, okay? That goes with all books that I deem valuable or worth really keeping in excellent shape. I put 3 boards in. Some might say that's excessive, and you might be right, but that's what I do. But I'm in the process of switching out of those for fullbacks. Now for my Atom Age books, late golden, early DC silver, the silver and golden, I call them Atom Age. Maybe that's not a correct term to use, I don't know. I switched to fullbacks, the same size. I use 2 of these per book. Now, I know a lot of people, there's a difference with these two. Here you have with the regular silvers and bronze and modern, whatever you buy like this, the regular boards. One side is smooth, the other side is matte. You put the book against the smooth side, right? We all know that. Well, when you have a fullback, and I think even a halfback too. I don't have halfbacks, so I don't have an example to show you. But for the fullbacks, they're very thick. Both sides are matte. So a lot of people might say, "Oh my God, is that good? Why isn't it smooth? Is it safe for the comic?" Yes, it is, because it says right here it's 100% acid-free backing board, so you don't have to worry about the acid mixing with the inks on the book. Oh my God, it doesn't have a smooth side. Does that mean it's going to mess up my book? No. It's the same thing. Both are acid-free. All right, so there's no reason not to get fullbacks if that's what you want to use, okay? Let's get to when I actually have the book in the bag. What do I do then? All right, before I put them in the boxes and all that stuff, long boxes, short boxes, whatever. I like short boxes personally. I like to keep a certain amount of good books in the short boxes and then just put all the regular decent stuff to just absolutely worthless stuff in the long boxes. But anyway, once they're in the bag, once you select your bag and your board, right, whatever you like, you may not like to use fullbacks like I do, or you may like to use what you like. That's fine. This is just how I do it. But once they're in the bags and they're boarded up, you see they're nice and sturdy, I then use, first off, one side, for me, I got my supplies here, I have my own stamper, and on the bottom, right here, I put my seal of approval from the collection of me, established 1993. That's just a little personal touch. Back when I first started collecting, I would write in the bottom corner, owner, me and all that stuff. Now, Luther Manning, my good friend Patrick, he got me a nice stamper, so now I'm part of the Stamper Club. So once again, once we get to, okay, everything's bagged and boarded and all that stuff, what do you do then? Well, for me, I know like sometimes when you go out and buy comics at stores, they'll have 2 pieces of tape on the opposite, on the flap. I hate that. I never use 2 pieces of tape. It's just so annoying. Again, this is just me. What I use, I just use your regular Scotch tape, the frost colored, not the clear colored, because I've noticed after a period of time, the clear colored tape, I don't know the exact designation of it, the clear covered tape leaves a residue. I haven't had that problem with matte. I'm sure it may happen, but I haven't had a problem with it in 20 years. So what I do is, depending on which way you desire to open the book, I usually open the book this way. I take a small piece of tape and put it diagonally going in the direction in which I open it. So if I'm moving my finger like this across the flap to open it, I put the tape diagonally that way. It makes it so much easier to open and less stress on the book. So you get your finger in there and boom, open. Now some people, you might want to take the piece of tape off when you take the book out. That's entirely up to you, depending on how careful you are. Accidents happen, but that's just the way I do it. I know some people, they'll put just one piece of tape and have it where you can actually pull the tape off and open a flap. That works too. If that's what you want to do, that works too. So that's when it comes to tape. I know a lot of people use the blue painter's tape, which is just in case if it does hit the book, it won't do any damage, I think. I don't know. I think that's great too. I have not converted yet to that method yet. Maybe one day I'll come around to it. But no matter what tape I use, I always put it diagonally. Now you'll see there are other two little pieces here. You may not be able to see exactly what I wrote, but right here I'll write the significance of the book in the top left corner. Well, this is the first appearance of Morbius. So right here it writes the first appearance of Morbius. If there are any defects with the book, now like I said, this is not going to be a grading video. It's certainly not. But after I graded the book, obviously before I put it in the bag and all that stuff, if there are any defects, like a pop staple, if the book has some restoration, God forbid, right? But if it has any of those things, it'll be put right here on another little piece of, little sticker. It'll be put right here on underneath the significance of the book. It'll say, cover detached, top staple detached, minor color touch, whatever it is. It'll say right here on the bottom. This does not have any restoration or any of those things, so that's why it doesn't say anything. But that's where it would go. Now here on the top right corner, I have a little circular sticky, and that's where the grade goes. I graded this at a 7.0, and right above it I write what a 7.0 is. Fine, very fine. So that's what goes on the back. That's, again, how I do it. Now, I briefly mentioned grading. Like I said, this is not a grading video, but there are plenty of other YouTubers out there that do a better job talking about grading, like ETA Nick and Arkham Comics Las Vegas. As a matter of fact, because of his video, I went out and bought this. This is an excellent tool to use when you want to grade your books. The Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. They give you tons of examples. They point out all the little terms, like what exactly blunting is, what it looks like, what a color fleck is. I never even heard of that term before, but it's all in here. It's great. Plenty of examples, fun to read, excellent to study. So if you're looking to really get into grading your books, I would start with that. But check out those other videos. I'll probably leave links in this for you to check them out. All right? So before I get into how I store the books with boxes, it's really no big deal. But before I get into that, one of the things that I think a lot of us are concerned about is moisture in the air, humidity. Depending on where you live in the world, certain areas have more humidity, and can that damage books? Well, yeah, it could. Depending on where you store your books. Don't store your books in a basement. Don't store your books in an attic. Places where moisture can get in, where intense heat could get in. That could all do damage to the paper and to the book and to the smell of the book. Mold could get in there and damage the book. All these different things. So you want to make sure you store your comics in a cool, dry place. Don't have sunlight on them because the UV rays will suck out the color. I'm sure all of you have seen books where color was sucked out of the cover because of extensive, prolonged exposure to UV rays, sunlight, all that stuff. So you want to store your books in a cool, dark place. Don't put them in the basement. Don't put them in the attic. That being said, though, there's still moisture in the air. So how do you detect moisture in the air? Well, I have one of these. I got these for really cheap. it tells you how much humidity is in the air. So typically you want to make sure that there's less than 50, 45% moisture in the air. And this thing right here at the top, it says right now currently there's 37% humidity in here. And it says here, nice and comfortable. You could buy these for like maybe $5. I keep them in the room just to make sure that there might be something that I need to do to take the moisture out, whatever. Or maybe it's just a bad room to keep books in. This will tell you. So I keep that here. Additionally, to control some of the humidity that's in the room, I buy these. Damp Rid. You can get these at your local supermarket. Basically what it is you put crystals on the top here, and the crystals suck out the moisture in the air. And as it does that, water pools up in the bottom. I usually have a couple of these in the room. Only within the last month I had to change them from a year ago because they were all filled with water. Okay? Yeah, so it does a good job sucking the moisture out of the air. Are there better ways to do it? Absolutely. Are there better YouTubers out there that probably have better ideas on how to handle some of these things? Absolutely. This is just how I do things. This is how it works for me. And also, before we get to the storage boxes, I put these in storage boxes. These are Dry and Dry premium quality silica gel bags. Now, right now they're like a purple color, but as they begin to suck in moisture, whenever you put books in areas where there's a lot of humidity or airtight areas, which you really shouldn't do, this will suck out the moisture in those environments. And I put these usually in the boxes where I store my books. So you should try to get some of these. They really come in handy. Once they change the color, there are brands where you could reuse them. They tell you how to reuse them, or you just throw them out and buy others. They're relatively inexpensive. Okay? So now we're going to move on to where I store my books. Now we switch to another view where you don't see me. I'm sure you're all upset about that. Anyway, I like to use these. These BCW, again with BCW. Again, I'm not promoting them. I'm just saying this is what I use because as far as I know, they're the only ones that have these type of things out. But I use these hard case short boxes. Now, I believe they also have long boxes too, and they have these for CGC books and so forth. This is just your standard short box, one of those hard shell case storage units for comic books. This is where I keep my good stuff. So anyway, what I did, it has a locking mechanism. For those of you that don't know too much about these, you could research it. But this is what I use. They're not airtight. So I know a lot of people were talking when they first came out, oh my God, are they airtight? Because that's going to destroy the staples. They're not airtight, okay? But you should still use these. So anyway, I packed them in here. Of course, this size right here is not good for Golden Age or Atom Age. It's really too tight for them. I'm waiting for the company to put out a Golden Age or an Atom Age size box to hold those. Until that time, I will just use them. I'll just put those in a regular cardboard box. But anyway, everything else goes in here. I like it. I like the feel of it. And like I said, I put one of these in here. And that's it. Just go through the collection. Everything looks nice, neat, organized. And I just simply pull out. Let's see if I can pull out a random book. Oh, here we are. First appearance of Carnage. You can say this is the beginning of my collection. Starting with the A's. Let me see. Where do I put this? Oh, here's an example. I'm glad I brought this. Here we are. This is the first appearance of the Spider-Man 2099. For a while, this was a $1 book, 50-cent book. Now it's gone up a little because of the popularity of Spider-Man 2099. All right, I told you how I put things diagonally, and some people, they may put a little flap up here so you could easily take the tape off. Well, here's an example of that. I completely forgot I did that for a while. Just, take a piece of tape, fold it back so that you could feel it where it's not sticky, and just pull the tape off if you want, every time you want to maybe open the book. But anyway, this is where I store some of my, more valuable books. Like I said, I have several of these. So put this nice and neatly back in here. There you go. Slides right back in. I know some people like to store them nice and tight. I don't do that, but I don't like to leave like big gaps where the books are like this. Everything fills it nicely. Problem, I think, with too tight is. If you want to get something out, it's a pain in the ass, but I don't know, maybe that is the better way, but it's just not how I do it. Here we go, nice and easy, no problems, no issues with possibly bending the book as it goes back in. Here's my Amazing Spider-Man 101. Let's put that back. It's easy to navigate. So this is just no problem. Here's 100. And put that like this. Nice and easy. Boom. Okay? So this is basically how I store my books. Everything else is just your standard cardboard box. So it's nothing that you haven't seen before. It's nothing that you won't see in a comic book shop or anything like that. So nothing really that spectacular. So that's how I store my books. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing that's, I would say, eye-opening or things that you may not have heard of before. It's just how I do it. Now, everybody has their own way. Some ways are better than mine, I'm sure of it. But I hope you liked the video, and if you have any other ideas on how to store books other than the ways I showed you, please leave them in the comments, and thank you all for watching. Take care.